Oh, Lord have mercy upon my soul. Hey, our review family. Keep it keep it tight. My name is Jay Morris, reviewing music for the love of music, and welcome back to the Metal Tempest. And in this video, I'm going to be covering the new Hollywood Undead record entitled Hotel California. Hollywood Undead are a rap rock and a nu metal band coming out of Los Angeles, California that have been kicking it since the mid-2000s, and I am very familiar with them. When I was growing up, I had someone in my social circle, one of my closest friends, that could never shut the hell up about them. So I'm very familiarized with their sound, with their music, and even when I was younger, I didn't like them. Few bands have embodied the generational crisis and aggressive teen boy angst quite as much as Hollywood Undead. But you know what usually happens when bands like that exist? They either change their style, or they live long enough to basically sound like Papa Roach. That's like the metal equivalent of like you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain. You either die a martyr or you live long enough to become Papa Roach. So when I found out that Hollywood Undead dropped a new record, I wasn't the most eager because I didn't check out their last two records, which was like a double album. And personally, I'm glad I didn't. And hey, I was thinking maybe times have changed, maybe their sound's a little better, maybe they've evolved a bit. And I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt, so I did. And what I received was one of the most musically laughable records that I've heard this year. Let me just give you a quick rundown of this record, because it's pretty much the same way the entire way through. These buffed up machismo fake ass alt-rock riffs ripped straight out of any Z-list band from the 2000s, buffed up and used with production to sap it of any life it could possibly have. And it's like it's doing its best attempt to appeal to the new pop-punk resurgence. Like, so many of these instrumentals read to me like a warped MGK ripoff. Like what Machine Gun Kelly's been doing on his recent material of like trying to revive punk music. And the vocals are potentially even cheesier than they used to be, because the difference between then and now was back then, like when they first started, they could back up the energy of like their angst and their aggression, and at least it kind of fit the time period. Because let's be honest, if the 2000s weren't full of anything else, it was full of a lot of angsty alternative rock and metal, nu metal, and post-grunge music, so they fit the bill, and even if they weren't the most genre-pushing, they at least fit the time in such a way that you could view them as a relic of the past. But now what you get is Johnny Three Tears, J-Dog, and Funny Man reaching into their late 30s and going into their 40s, and still trying to have this rebellious nature and this generational middle finger to the man, and it comes off so faux preachy. Like, I hate to be the guy that says you can't do something no matter what age you are, because I am a staunch advocate for, like, it doesn't matter what age you are. If you're gonna craft a good piece of art, craft a good piece of art. But let me just talk about this record in a genuine fashion and explain why I think that this record is a prime example of when a band is just trying to appeal just to their fan base and nothing else, and not really try to do anything outside of that. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. If you get something out of this record, more power to you. But the opener track, Chaos, and the track that directly follows it, World War Me, what a quirky title, woohoo. Flat alternative metal and alternative rock riffs shoved down our throats with these overly compressed and hyper preachy, overly ambitious vocals. They're so zany, they're so melodramatic, they're just soaked in melodrama. And when you combine it with how they'll slip into the generic "oh whoa" chorus parts, not to mention these rap vocals and rap sections feel so much lazier even from what they've done in the past. Chaos and Dangerous come to mind. Number one, these vocals rap-wise across this album are not some of their best. They sound like they are towing the line between an angsty 2000s nu metal band mixed with a little bit of the Beastie Boys combined with modern trap and modern pop-punk in a really gross way. And these tracks just showcase non-stylistic they feel directionless. So many of these beats feel like FL Studio beats. And I'm also just weirded out by how it feels like the band is trying to hit a criteria, like they really want to hit a quota. Like they know that they have to have a certain amount of rap, a certain amount of rock, a certain amount of metal, and they have to blur it all together and shoehorn in the overly zany chorus and the rap breakup and the trap moment and the nu metal moment, make sure it's a little distorted, but have enough pop rock appeal to all of the kids who don't want anything too heavy to digest. And just when I feel like I didn't want to die more from this album, the latter half of this record is such a pain to get through, but at least it's good for a good laugh, huh? Looking at it objectively, Lion Eyes feels like an Imagine Dragons song. And I'm not comparing it because, oh, maybe the production sounds like it, oh, maybe I'm just pulling at straws because the vocals might sound a little bit like it. No, from the thumping progression of the percussion to the way the vocals have the inflections that ascend and descend, the pop rock, sort of arena rock feel of this whole track, it feels like an Imagine Dragons song. It just straight up does. And who told these guys that the song Trap God was in any universe a good idea? Doctor Strange could have seen 1,000, a million, a billion fucking timelines, and I don't think that he would have confirmed to this band that the track Trap God was in any of them a good idea. These swapping back and forth, it just can't be true. These whiny lead vocals and the glitched out effects on this track are like some 2000s crunk song. It's so funny. Like it sounds like a broken side track. This track is gratuitous to get through. It is a slog, but it's also so funny and so cringy in how melodramatic and non-self-aware it is. Maybe it's a little tongue-in-cheek because of the song title, but I see no humor. I see no satire. I think that they're taking themselves extremely seriously, and I think that's the issue with this record. This record has this level of hypervigilance and righteousness where it wants so hard to be taken seriously that it's willing to go to any lengths and throw every influence at the wall to try to make it happen. When in reality, what it ends up sounding like is this strange, warped amalgamation of every single influence coming out of the 2000s nu metal and the worst shades of alt-rock and alt-metal. Every bad rap rock band that came out from that time period mixed with this new resurgence of pop punk that's coming out of artists like MGK, mixed with the hyperzealous production and the overly compressed pop rock appeal of an Imagine Dragons. And you can imagine that that feels exactly like what it sounds like. Like Happy When I Die, what is this vocal progression? What is this weird inflection that the vocals just cannot help but stay in? It's like they're trying to do some weird Eminem rap flow over this instrumental. Not to mention just the tempo seems off. Like there's something off-tempo about the riff percussion and vocal ratio. Like everything is just a millisecond off. There's something jarring my ears that is so unpleasant that I can't put a finger on. This track is so sloppily put together. And while a track like Reclaim on the latter half is one of the better tracks with one of the catchier hooks and catchier riff lines, it is still so simplistic when you compare it to any alt-metal and alt-rock song from the 2000s. And I think Reclaim also shows another flaw with this record is even their metal parts, even their rap rock parts where the instrumentals are a little heavier, they still play in such a safe, confined, digestible, cleanly produced, widely accessible, radio-friendly appeal that saps the life out of anything they're doing. And this approach of hyper-rebellious, us-against-them mentality where it's trying to be fiery and rageful, but not saying anything that is interesting. They try to make a point, but they fall flat across this entire record because they just fail to frame their rebellion and their revolution and their whole flexing mentality in any sort of new, fresh, intriguing way. God, like, at least if this record was going to sound this bad on all fronts, the least I would hope for is for them to have something important to say. There's nothing across this record that is sticking with me, and these uninsightful lyrics and these uninsightful hooks mixed with these uninspired rap vocals, these completely flat beats, these overly zealous and hyper-righteous, whiny lead vocals that lead into these soaring, distorted choruses that are just grossly modern pop-punk inspired. Every single formula is tired. I have no words. This track listing is horrific. And there is practically nothing that would make me want to come back to this record. Nothing. And I guess I could just say that I'm glad the person in my life that used to love Hollywood Undead so much isn't still around. Because if I would have to listen to this just be spun on repeat for weeks on end, I think my will to live might deplete just as much as the quality of this record. I have nothing else to say about it. I could rant about this for hours, but I'm just going to end it here and give this album a 1 out of 10. And that is a wrap. Have you heard this new Hollywood Undead record, Hotel California? If you have, let me know in the comment section below what you thought about it. I would love to discuss this record with you. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to join the review family today, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is, my name is Jay Morris, and I'm signing off saying farewell.